Welcome back. This is the course on digital system design, and in this lecture we will look more about latches. The previous lecture we looked at the set reset latch. We will follow it up after a brief recollection of the SR latch. We will look at what are called as the S-R latch. Then we will use SR latch as a building block and construct other kinds of latches, in particular the D latch, then T latch, and then the JK latches. This will form the basic blocks using which we will later construct the edge-triggered flip-flops. So we will recollect the working principle of the set reset or the SR latch. So basically we have got two NOT gates realized using NOR gates in a cascaded form with a feedback from the second NOR gate to the first. The other two inputs that are available at the two NOT gates or the NOR gates are being taken out. One is called as the S, another is called as the R input, and that can be used to force the state of the latch to either 0 or 1. We can draw it in a much more neater manner using a cross-coupled configuration where we have got two NOR gates in such a manner that the output of one NOR gate goes as the input for the other NOR gate and vice versa. The output of the NOR gate for which R is an input is called as Q. The output of the NOR gate for which S is the input is called as Q dash. We will always work this flip-flop under the mode in which Q and Q bar are complement of each other. Then we saw that when S equal to 0, R equal to 0, then this is a no change condition. Whatever may be the value of Q, that is being retained, because when S is 0, R is 0, it is the other input of the NOR gates that influence the NOR gates working. So the Q that is present at the output of R, R'd by 0 will be Q before the bubble and Q dash after the bubble, whatever may be the value of Q is. And this Q dash here being R'd with 0 will lead to a Q bar before the bubble and Q after the bubble. So the value of Q remains the same as long as S and R are both zeros. When S equal to 1, R equal to 0, it is a set condition. When S equal to 1, it forces it will have a 1 before the bubble and a 0 after the bubble. Q dash is forced to be 0, and Q dash being 0 as well as R being 0 will make a 0 before the bubble and a 1 after the bubble, that is Q is forced to 1. This is the set condition. In a similar manner, when R equal to 1, you will see that R and whatever the other input may be, there will be a 1 before the bubble and 1 after the bubble, which means Q is 1 before the bubble and 0 after the bubble, that is Q is set or reset to 0, and therefore Q dash will become 1. This is the reset condition. We saw that the 1-1 condition is a forbidden condition, because when both S and R are 1-1, the outputs will be 0 and 0. The moment you bring it back to the no change state input condition, that is S equal to 0, R equal to 0, both the output starts oscillating between 0 and 1, but because of the race condition, the flip-flop will settle to a 0 or a 1 value depending upon the propagation delay of the two NOR gates, which is unpredictable, and hence a random bit will get stored, which is a undesirable one. So it is never operated in this mode. So this is what we looked at in the previous lecture. We also derived the characteristic equation for the SR latch using the truth table, and we got that Q plus can be written as S plus R dash Q. Without even going through this K map, we can try to understand this characteristic equation. So when S is 1, irrespective of the previous values of Q, Q plus will be 1. By the way, what is Q plus? It is the next state of Q. Q after the the latch has settled down. So if you know Q at the time t, after a time epsilon, which is the time it takes for the latch to settle down, the Q at the time t plus epsilon is what we are deriving it. And because the epsilon, the delay for settling varies from latch to latch depending upon the technology, conveniently we drop that epsilon and we simply call it as Q at the time Q t plus or t plus, and even drop t and then simply call it as Q plus. So Q plus simply means that the next state or the new value to which the latch will settle down, where Q corresponds to the old state before the change in the value of S and R. Whenever S and R are fixed at one state, Q will settle down to a value. When S and R changes, possibly Q will change, and the new value is what we call as Q plus, and the old value is what we call as the Q. Sometimes we call Q as the present state and Q plus as the next state. So when S equal to 1, Q plus will always be 1, and if R is 1, that is the reset case, which means R dash will be 1. Okay. Then if Q is 0, Q plus will be 0. Whenever R is 1, R dash will be 0, and it will force Q plus to be equal to 0, and it will reset. So this is how we can understand the characteristic equation. Now here so far S and R are the two inputs using which you can force the latch to go to a 0 state or a 1 state. But S and R are the digital signals which may come from some other circuits in a larger system. Sometimes we would like to have an extra control over when this latch should work. For that we can have an extra control input called as the enable input. As the name indicates, it enables the latch or it disables it depending upon its value. Later we will also view this enable input to be the clock input. We can enable or disable with the help of a clock. So at this point we will call it as an enable. Later we can use it as the clock input and then go about constructing a flip-flop out of this latch. So what is the use of this enable input and how do we construct it? What we have simply done is, before taking the SR inputs to be given to this cross-coupled NOR configuration, we have put two AND gates, and the actual external S and R are first given to these AND gates. A common input to both these AND gate is this E input or the enable input. The outputs of these AND gates are the one which acts as the real S and R, which is now called as the S cap and R cap for this original SR latch which we discussed so far. So we know how this latch is going to work when S cap and R cap are given. That is what is given by this truth table. Now how S and S cap and R cap are related is the only thing that we have to look at. We can easily see that when E is equal to 0, then S cap is equal to 0, R cap is equal to 0. That is equal to the 0 0 or the no change condition for this latch, and this latch will not change its states, or we can say it is disabled. On the other hand, when E equal to 1, it simply allows S to propagate to S cap, R to propagate to R cap, and the role of S cap is now taken care of by S, R cap is taken care of by R. Depending upon the value of S and R, this latch will work. What do we mean by that? When S and R are 0 0, it is a no change. When S equal to 1, R equal to 0, it is a set. When R equal to 1, S equal to 0, it is a reset. And of course, S and R both being 1 is forbidden. That is, in this case, when E equal to 1, it simply enables. We can view these two AND gates to be literally acting as a gate, letting this Boolean variable to be present here. E equal to 1 basically opens up the gate and allows S to enter and act as S cap. Similarly for R, it does. So that is why these are called as really, in a literal sense, they are gates or enablers. So E basically enables this latch to work. When it is 1, when it is 0, it disables. So we can write down the truth table for this enabled or clocked SR latch. So we have an extra input E in addition to S and R. So the truth table should have 3 and one where there are 3 inputs. So there should be 8 rows, and we have to write down the values of Q plus for all these 8 combinations. But what we can conveniently do is that we can write it in a more compact manner. When enable is 0, whatever may be the value of S and R, which we denote it as XX because they are don't care, S cap and R cap are 0 0, and we know what happens. Q and Q plus, Q, whatever Q is, Q plus is the same as Q. It is a no change condition. So S and R can take 4 possible values for all these things, all these combinations. This holds good. That is why these 4 rows can be conveniently written as a single row as XX. So we have written the truth table in a more compact manner. Well, now if enable equal to 1, then S and R may again take 4 cases, but we will simply keep it as a variable S and R itself. And S cap, R cap becomes S and R respectively, and Q, whatever value the original value is, what will be the value of Q plus? That is simply given by the truth table of the SR latch, which we already know. So it can be either Q itself or 0 or 1 depending upon the SR value. We are not separately writing it out. You have to just copy the truth table, the 4 rows of the SR latch truth table for this case of enable equal to 1. So this is how the enable one works. We can now come up with a representation for this SR latch. So SR latch, instead of all the time drawing the internal circuitry of the SR latch, we can just draw it as a black box and use it as a building block in larger circuitry. For that, we just use a rectangular structure and only show what goes inside and what comes outside. What happens inside is hidden, and we have to understand based on the working principle of that component. So this black box representation is more useful when we draw a larger circuit. I believe you would have already studied this kind of representation when we talk about muxes, demuxes, adders and so on. So we just draw a black box. We only indicate the input and output signals and the internal circuitries are being masked. So again, what is the black box representation for the SR latch? So we have three inputs, S, R and enable, and two outputs, Q and Q complement. And we assume that it is always operated in the non-forbidden state or a valid state. Now, one thing that we have to note here is that in the case of an SR latch or an enabled or clocked SR latch, Q bar is the output from the NOR gate for which S cap or S in the original unclocked latch drives. Q is the output of the NOR gate for which R is the input. So you might have expected this black box in which Q bar is represented here and Q is represented here when we don't indicate any of this internal circuitry. But conventionally what we do is we write Q along on the same position as that of S and Q bar on the same position of that of R. The reason we do is that we can now easily understand the role of S and R in deciding the output Q and therefore Q complement. Why we do is that is we put Q on the same line along with S in the circuitry and Q bar is put in the same line along with R here. Why we do? Because we know now we can easily understand that when S equal to 1, Q will be 1. When R equal to 1, Q complement will be 1. Of course, the other input has to be 0. Okay. So this is easy to understand that S is used to set Q, R is used to set Q complement or reset Q. So to make this obvious, we rather put Q on the same line as that of S and Q complement on the same line as that of R. Okay. So this is something which you have to keep it in mind. So here we see that when enable is 1, then this SR latch will work. When enable is 0, it will not work. So we can view that this latch is what is called as the level triggered. That is the level 0 or 1 triggers or makes this latch to work. So this is more often called as a level triggered flip-flop. Later we will have what is called as edge triggered flip-flop, where it is not the level of that clock signal which makes the flip-flop to work or change the states, but a transition in the clock which will make the device to change the state, and those will be called as the edge triggered flip-flop. So at this stage we have to clarify what is the distinction between a latch and the flip-flop. Again, different convention persists. In this course we basically follow two books. One is the book by Charles H. Routh, another is the book by Maurice Mano. The nomenclature or the terminologies differ slightly between these books. While the book Routh calls all these devices as flip-flops and in particular call these as sometimes as latches or the level triggered flip-flops, while the other thing which we are going to discuss later as the edge triggered flip-flop if their state changes as a result of a transition in the clock, whereas Mano reserves call all these devices which are activated by a level as latches and those devices which are change the state as a result of a transitions are called as flip-flops. So again re-emphasize it when we talk about flip-flop. At this stage you have to be careful in the sense that whenever it is the level, if we if we denote it as a level triggered flip-flop, it is just a latch. If you want to really mean that it is activated by a transition, we will use the extra adjectives as edge triggered flip-flops. Now we saw that a cross-coupled NOR gate can be used to construct an SR latch. Well, basically we wanted NOT gates for which we are using NOR gates. We know that a NAND gates can also be used in place of a NOT gate, and therefore we should be able to construct an SR latch using NAND gates also. Let us see what happens if we have a cross-coupled configuration of two NAND gates. So in this case, we have used two NAND gates and they are cross-coupled in the sense that the output of one NAND gate acts as one of the input for the other NOT gate and vice versa. The output of the second or the bottom NAND gate goes as the input of the top NAND gate and vice versa. And there are two free inputs at both these NAND gates which are taken out. One we call it as S, another we call it as R, and it has two outputs which we do not at this stage know how they are going to work, but we will simply call this as Q and this as Q complement, and reason why we call it as Q will also become evident soon. So this is what we will call it as the an latch with cross-coupled NOT gate configurations. Now we know that for the case of an AND gate or a NAND gate, if an input is 1, it is the other input which will dictate the role of the gates. So when S equal to 1, R equal to 1, basically these two signals allow these two to function as NOT gates, cross-coupled NOT gates. And therefore when S equal to 1, R equal to 1, if Q were originally 0, 0 and 1, basically it is a 0 before the bubble and a 1 after the bubble. And this 1 along with a 1 in the S means 1 and 1 is 1 before the bubble and 0 after the bubble. So if you see that when Q is 0, Q plus will be 0, and this is what we have already, this is what we precisely saw now. That is, whatever may be, if as long as S equal to 1, R equal to 1, Q, just treat it as a variable, Q gets complemented and becomes Q bar, and Q bar gets complemented and becomes Q. And this would be true for whatever may be the value of Q, 0 or 1. So Q plus is the same as Q, and therefore it is a no change condition. So in this case, the no change condition occurs for the combination of S equal to 1, R equal to 1. Now let us look at what happens when S is 0, R equal to 1. When S is 0, then it forces a 0 before the bubble of that NAND gate and a 1 after the bubble of the NAND gate, which means it forces Q to become 1. So Q plus will become 1. This happens for both values of Q. We can see that. So when S equal to 1, if Q were originally, when S equal to 0, R equal to 1 is the case we are looking at. Q is initially 0. So a 0 and then a 1 makes a 0 here and a 1 here. So Q complement will be Q complement is not shown in this one, and that Q complement will come here, and because S is 0 here, whatever may be this value, so there will be a 0 before the bubble and a 1 after the bubble, that is Q will become 1. So which means that q will become 1 means q plus is 1, which means it is a set condition. So in order to set this latch to a 1 state, that is treating q to be the output, then what we have to do is that we have to have this input condition s equal to 0, r equal to 1, which is complement to what we have already seen. Okay, so we can see that we can view it as an active, S has to be active low in order to set the latch. So S has to be a 0 is the one which actively sets the flip-flop to a 1 value. So sometimes we can view that this acts as an S dash input. So when this input is an active low input. Similarly, when we have a case of r equal to 0 and s equal to 1, r equal to 0, s equal to 1, let's see what happens. Because r equal to 0, it forces a 0 before the bubble and a 1 after the bubble. So q bar is 1 and therefore q will be 0. Q bar is 1 and s equal to also 1. So 1 and 1, a 1 before the bubble and 0 after the bubble. So q becomes 0. That is q plus is 0. So to reset the latch, we need a 0 in R and of course 1 in S. So a 0 in R resets the latch. So R, a active 0 condition at R is the one which resets the latch. So because of this reason, we can view it as an S bar R bar latch. That is S bar to R bar to indicate that in that S is an set input, R is a reset input. Of course, S bar indicates that a 0 is the one which sets. R bar indicates that a 0 in R bar is the one which resets. Okay. So what we have seen is that it is an active low input SR latch or an S bar R bar latch. Again, we will now look at what happens when both S and R are 0, 0. If both S and R are 0, 0, we have already seen that a 1, 1 is a no change condition. Now, we can guess that a 0, 0 should be a forbidden condition. That is what precisely happens. When both S and R are 0, 0, so you have a NAND gate where both S and R are 0, 0 for both NAND gates. A 0 as one of the input of this NAND gate makes a 0 before the bubble and 1 after the bubble. So both these NAND gates will have 1, 1 at their outputs. So there will be a 1, 1 at their outputs, which is not desirable because they are no more complement of each other. Both takes the same value, which is again, as we have said, which we don't like to happen. More seriously, when we bring this input condition from 0, 0 to the no change condition, that is 1, 1, what will happen? When they become 1, 1, they don't play any more active role, because 1, 1 as an input to these NAND gates will not decide the output. The other inputs which are fed back from the Q and Q bar are going to dictate, and they are 1, 1, and because of that a 1, 1 will make a 1 before the bubble and 0 after the bubble. So both Q as well as this, the other one which is supposed to be Q complement, both will take a value 0, 0, and because they have taken a 0, 0, so a 0 here and a 1 here will make a 0 before the bubble and 1 after the bubble. Again they will quickly go to 1, 1 condition. So they will toggle between or switch between zeros and ones very quickly depending upon the propagation delay of these two NAND gates. So again they oscillate between 0 and 1, which is the next undesirable fact of this input condition. And as you might have guessed, the propagation delay of both these NAND gates are not exactly the same. There will be a race condition, and because of that, this latch will settle down to a random bit which is not predictable, and therefore we will call this state as a forbidden state. A 0 0 at the inputs S bar and R bar are not desirable. So now we will use the proper name for it. Instead of calling SR, we will call it as S bar R bar. And again, to indicate that these are S bar R bar, which are active low set and active low reset, in the black box representation of this S bar R bar latch, we will put a bubble at the input end. This bubble indicates that they are active low signals. A 0 on S bar sets the flip-flop, and a 0 on the R bar resets the flip-flop. When I only say a 0 on the S bar, I automatically mean a 1 in R bar, and the vice versa. As usual, we have written Q along on the same line of S bar and Q complement on the same line of R bar, and this is the representation of S bar R bar. Okay, so we can come up with a truth table for S bar R bar if need be. By using this truth table, we can use a K-map and then come up with that one. I will leave it as an exercise for you. But now this S bar R bar, if you are not very comfortable with this one, rather if you are comfortable with SR latch, okay, but we still want to implement it using a NAND gate, you can do so. Only thing is, what you have to do is, you have to complement the input before feeding it to this cross coupled NAND gate realization of this S bar R bar latch. So if you take S and R and then complement it using a NOT gate, but realize using two NAND gates, and then feed it, then what will happen is, when look at this one, when this S and R are 0 0, then these two will be 1 1, and we know that a 1 1 is the no change condition for this cross coupled NAND gate configuration. So for this entire latch, a 0 0 will be a no change condition. So what we have to basically do is that these signals, you have additional input S and R, and this we will call it as S bar R bar. So they have to be flipped. When S and R are, these S and R are 0 0, S complement and R complement will be 1 1, and it will be a no change condition. So for this latch, where there is an extra NOT gate before this cross coupled NAND configuration, the working of this latch will be such that, as usual, the SR latch, that is a 0 0 is a no change condition, 1 in R and a 0 in S, okay, will be a reset condition. That is, Q will become 0 and Q complement will become 1. A 1 in S and 0 in R is a reset condition. Sorry, this is a set condition. A 1 in S and 0 in R is a set condition, and Q will become, this is the next state. What we mean by that is the Q plus will become 1 and its complement will be 0. And as usual, 1 and 1 are the forbidden states. Originally this was 0 0, now at the external input we have 1 1, and 1 1 becomes the forbidden state, and now this becomes simply an SR latch. Now again, if you want, we can again have an enable signal, and as a third signal to control this SR latch, and we can, instead of making these two as that is S being fed both as being divided and into two and then fed to this NOT gate, we can take both these inputs of these two NAND gates and then tie it together and call it as E. If we do so, it will be an enabled SR latch as we have seen in the previous case. So we can have an enabled SR latch also with the help of NAND, two cross coupled NAND gates. So with this we have discussed in detail how an SR latch and the S dash R dash latch will work. Now we will move ahead and then we will look at other latches. As I already mentioned, we can take these two inputs of this first level NOT gates, okay, and then tie it together and use it as an enable signal. So now with respect to this one, how this SR latch will work? When S equal to 1, then when S is equal to 0, both this S bar, S cap and R cap are 1 1 and it will be a no change condition. Clear? And which means that the latch is disabled. When S equal to 1, then when S and R are 0 0, S cap and R cap are 1 1 and this is the no change condition. And when the latch is enabled, that is as long as enabled is 1, then the SR latch works based on the value of S and R. S equal to 1 is the set condition. S equal to 1, R equal to 0 means S complement is, S cap is 0, R cap is 1 and it is a set condition. Similarly, when S equal to 0, R equal to 1 is a reset condition because when it comes here, it flips and then it resets the latch. And a 1 1 at S and R makes a 0 0 in S cap and R cap, which is forbidden, and this is how it works. Enable 0 is a no change one. Well, now we have looked at the enabled SR latch realized using a cross coupled NOT gate, and this is the shorthand notation or a building block notation of this enabled SR latch. Okay. When a level of 1 enables the latch and makes it to work, a level of 0 disables it. So we call these as level triggered flip-flops or just latches. Now, one thing that is troubling us so far is that there is a state called as the forbidden state. We have to always ensure that certain input combinations do not occur, whether it is an SR latch or S bar R bar latch should not occur. But that is not always possible. What if we accidentally feed in a forbidden input? So because of that, what we can do a safety measure that we will redesign the circuit so that whatever may be the input that we give, it never goes to the forbidden state. Forbidden input condition never occur, and therefore the random nature of the latch will never come into picture. So for that, the condition is when both the inputs S and R are 1 1, it is forbidden in the case of SR latch. When both S bar and S R bar are 0 0, it is forbidden for the S bar R bar latch. So, but of course, there is also a no change condition with both S and R are the same value. So here, if we let both the inputs to take different values, then what will happen is the forbidden state will never occur. If both the inputs take different values, then we are not going to have the forbidden state also. Of course, we also lose the no change state. That is also another price that we are paying. But if you do so, then we have the ability to set the latch or reset the latch based on the input. So with this in mind, we will have just one input and call it as the D input. And what we do is, we connect the D input and use it as the S input of this SR latch. We complement the D input and feed it as the R input for this SR latch. Note, here D can take only one value, either 0 or 1. Therefore, this S and R will always be complement of each other, and therefore this forbidden state will never occur. So this kind of a latch is what we are going to call it as the D latch. And let's see what is the characteristics of this D latch. So S equal to 1, R equal to 1 case will not occur. S and R are always complemented. No change condition is also not possible. And this is called as the D latch. So we can now represent this. See, for this entire circuit, we have a shorthand notation like this. Now what we have done is, we have S and R are being complemented and given from the D input. So we can have this representation for the D latch, where this entire circuit is being abstracted using this SR latch block diagram. Now, how will this D latch work? When D is equal to, well, there is also an extra enable signal. When enable is 0, okay, when enable is 0, as we have seen, then there will be a 1 1 here and it will be a no change condition. Okay. So whatever may be the value of Q that is being retained, Q is 0, Q plus is 0, Q is 1, Q plus is 1. So 0 basically disables this latch. When enable is 1, it enables the latch. Then when D is 0, then S equal to 0, R equal to 1. Because S equal to 0, because D is directly connected to S, and because D is complemented before given to R, R becomes 1 when D is 0. We know that this is a reset case, therefore whatever may be the value of Q, Q plus will become 0. Again, this truth table is a compact representation. We are not writing out all possible input case. Look, now we have got two inputs, E and D. In addition, first we have to compute S and R before computing Q plus. So we are compactly representing it like this representation. So when it is enabled, D input, Q plus will simply follow D. When D is 0, Q plus will be 0. When D is 1, S will become 1 and R will become 0. And this is a set condition. Whatever may be the value of Q, Q plus will become 1. So what we understand from that is, Q plus takes the same value as D whenever the latch is enabled. The corresponding truth table, K-map, you can construct and come up with the characteristic equation of the D latch and derive a formula for the D latch. But we know from this one that D is nothing but, Q plus is nothing but D. Okay. So this is the equation that we get as long as E is 1. So we can write it as Q plus is E into D. When E is equal to, it is not just E into D, because when E is 0, Q plus is not 0. It retains the original value, but we can of course come up with an equation for it. But how do we view this one? When it is enabled, Q plus is just D, or Q plus simply follows D. So if you view this to be a line that carries data which can vary 0, which can have bits like zeros, ones and so on, whenever it is enabled, this data is being simply passed on down the line and it is available at the Q. and whenever enable is being made to 0, suddenly we disable this latch, and whatever may be the value that it had, the last value at the time of disabling, that will be retained and it will be present here. So this one behaves in a transparent manner for the input, we call it as the data input, whenever E is 1. It is transparent in the sense that it simply Q simply follows D. It is as if it is a simple line, but only thing is there is a complicated circuitry that goes in, otherwise it is a simple line because Q is the same as D whenever E is 1. So it is transparent. But when E is made 0, then what happens? The last value of Q is frozen and it is kept. Or we say that this latches to the last value and holds it until E becomes back to 1 and the latch is enabled. So that is why the word latch comes into picture. It latches on or holds on to the last value before the latches transition takes place, it disabled. So we call this as the transparent D latch. If you look at the timing diagram for this, when E is, we have shown here E, D and Q, and when E is 0, okay, and whatever may be the value of D, the input, okay, Q just take, Q has the value, previous value, and it remains at that value. Now at this point the latch E has become 1, that is the latch is enabled. Now then the D input simply gets reflected at the Q output, but for a small propagation delay, which is what shown here using this dashed one. So this, the copy of the D waveform here has to be simply copied it here with a slight delay. So these two pulses will also show as two pulses here with small delay. When E becomes 0, the latch is disabled, and at that time if the Q has been 1, then that value is being retained. This value is being retained and it is kept. And later on, which is not shown here, the value of D is not going to affect it. Now if you look at it in this one diagram, so here enable input is shown here. Whenever enable is 1, then the latch is enabled here and here, these are disabled. So here you say the latch is disabled. Supposing Q were 0 at this point. Now D changes and it is not affecting Q because it is now isolated. Q is isolated from the D input because the latch is disabled. And now it is enabled, and as soon as it gets enabled, D will starts having an influence on Q. Q simply follows D here. This pulse also comes up here with a small delay. And here again latch is disabled. So D will no more influence it. Whatever may be the value Q had, it continues to have until it is enabled back. Now as soon as it is enabled, it starts following the D. Now the pulse width of this one, there is a small portion of this pulse that is present after the latch is enabled. That part alone is being reflected at the output. So this is the working of the transparent D latch, and it is extensively used in building digital circuits. In fact, the only latch that is extensively used is the D latch. Now what we can do is that we saw that we have one input E input which can be used to enable or disable the latch. But mostly this would be tied to a clock which controls the various circuitry building blocks of a larger digital circuit. Whenever clock pulse comes, then the different latches are being enabled and they will work. But if you want an individual latch to be set or reset, we cannot do it, because this enable is going to be a clock which not only drives this, controls this latch, but also many other things. So we can only control in one go using that enable one. We would like to have one more level of control of this latches. Suppose we take one more input to this NAND gate, and then we will call it as a preset. When we make this as 0, then we can see that this NAND gate has got 3 inputs, but if one of the input is forced to 0, then its output will become 1. And you can easily check, because of this cross coupled nature, when Q becomes 1, Q bar will automatically become 0. So what we can do is we can set the flip flop to a 1 state by forcing a 0 at this place. So here a 0 sets it. So we call it as a set bar, because an active 0 is the one which is used to set it. And we call it as a preset because usually prior to operating all these latches, we bring it to a known state, typically a 0 value, and then operate it. So prior to an operation we set it, so we call it as a preset. That is the next one. Another one, this can act independent of this enable or the clock input. So when devices operate as a result of a clock input, then we say that all those synchronously change. But this is an asynchronous input, that without any influence of the clock, anytime we can make use of it to set this one. So we will call it as a asynchronous input, and it is a preset one, and it is an active low one. So we should actually call it as a preset bar. The bar comes because it is an active low. So it is a preset and it is an asynchronous input. The distinction between synchronous and asynchronous input will become more clear when we talk about the synchronous circuits little later. Similarly, we can take a line out of this one, the lower bottom NAND gate, and if you make this as 0, we can make Q bar to become 1 and Q to become 0, which means we can clear or reset the latch. There is another name for resetting the latch, that is called as clearing. Clearing means wiping out. Wiping out means there is no bit, we can't say bit 0, bit 0 is there. So this is called as the clear input. Again, it is asynchronous. It can work independently as that of this clock or the enabled. And an active low signal, that is a 0, does the operation of clearing or resetting. So it is a clear bar. So we have two extra signals. One is a preset and clear. So together we can put all these things together and we can construct this latch. So this will latch with an enabled and a preset and clear bar signals. It will act as a building block in a number of digital circuits. I will stop at this point and we will talk about more about the toggle latch and the JK latch later. Thank you.